Welcome to another episode of Simply Thriving in the North. I'm Auroara Leigh, and we have Brent Goerz here as we are the hosts for this television series, and we have Penelope Duane with us today. And so Penelope is the first person in our long series of information about intergenerational trauma healing and cycle breaking and intergenerational resilience. And what does that even mean? And so welcome, Penelope.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What's really amazing is our opportunity to kind of get to meet people from the community. And you were kind of reminding me, and kind of before we started the show today, kind of the two connections that we had. And one was down by the river in kind of my spiritual gathering connective place. And I was so impressed when I met other people who acknowledged that place of healing, the confluence of the Nechako and the Fraser. Like, it's powerful, powerful energy. And the second was when you were holding space for me to hear my narrative. And I must have cried for 20 plus minutes, like to the point of sobbing, and wasn't expecting. It was kind of one of those chance encounters, hey, I'm gonna go connect and blah, blah, blah. And you and another healer kind of just held space. And we talk about that in therapy, about what that means of holding space. You don't have to be a therapist to hold space. Like, you need to kind of understand your own kind of personhood, your own energy, your own experience. And so today I was very excited to hear, because I've only kind of had these little tiny snapshots and then long periods of time where I haven't kind of been able to kind of sit down and have coffee and hear your journey. And so I'm very curious today to kind of hear that journey. And so you get to start wherever you feel is appropriate to start.
And I met Penelope through, Leigh. And so Leigh was the last guest of 2024, and you're the first guest of 2025. And for the viewers who may not know, Leigh Davis is Penelope's son. And so I've been really close with Leigh, like a brother. And he said, you have to see my mom and you have to meet her. And then so I reached out to Penelope and said, hey, are you coming to the drum group tonight? And then she said she would, and I just hugged her right away. And I was like, and then it's just been a gift to know you in a tiny, tiny period of time. But I'm really looking forward to hearing more of your story.
Well, I appreciate being invited. It's quite an awareness, I think, that I've come full circle to be able to come to love myself and know how much impact I make in the people that I connect with. Hug therapy, right? That's what I share. When you hug people, it requires to be 20 seconds or longer. Because with that 20 seconds, that's when the heart connects. And people, when we hug, it's after the 20 seconds and their body goes, oh, oh, I needed that. Every single hug requires to be 20 seconds or longer. And then the other side, to make it a balanced hug. Because way back, the kids and I lived on a 12-acre parcel. And that was when I found out that I had been poisoned by E. coli about 8 years prior to that. My belly was out to my knees. This was blocked by 70 to 80% with fecal matter, which then affects your oxygen levels. So I slept a lot. My body went into toxic, my eyes went yellow, right? So in the process of having E. coli poisoning for like 8 years, from the time I fell in a lake and ate a tainted burger in 1989, so Leigh would have been about 1.5 years. And it threw my intestines into shock. When they don't work, then everything gets stored, and the fecal matter then absorbs into your system, and it becomes not enough oxygen in your system. So what happened with me was that not enough oxygen, which I found out from the doctor after they took out my gallbladder in February of 1997. August of 89, I fell in the lake.
Oh.
So over the years, this just got bigger and bigger, and I became lazy and...
But you didn't know?
Not a clue.
Oh, that's why it took 8 years to treat.
So
because I was, you know, out of...
Can I stop you there?
Take some Prozac. That'll help you.
You weren't lazy.
No.
You had low energy, and so I'm very conscious of kind of when I have conversations with people, kind of how we tell our story.
Yes.
Is how we experience our story. And as an editor / therapist, my job is to kind of go, hold on there. Is that really what was going on? You weren't lazy.
No, not for me, but that was the outside
perception.
People. Outside people, doctors, if you only would lose some fat, you'd be okay. Here's some Prozac, you need the Cadillac of all antidepressants. No, I needed to go to Poughkeepsie Mental Health Hospital for them to figure out that it was my stomach, not just here's a pill, carry on. Right,
Yes.
so...
The doctors didn't investigate further.
Not at all. Like,
Yeah.
I was a 5X. I was over 300 pounds. And, oh, now you're manic depressant, and, oh, the new one's bipolar 2, and meanwhile, it come down to my gut health.
Yeah.
So...
Well, it's funny you say that, because when I went through my burnout, I did a 5-page assessment with my therapist. And she said, here's the deal, Brent. You know all this shit. We're not doing counseling. I want you to do a 10-day Vipassana meditation and a 10-day juice cleanse.
Yeah.
Reset the system and integrate and reset your gut health, right? And that's exactly what you're talking about, is sometimes kind of these outside experts kind of throw at us. And I say this tongue-in-cheek, but it's medical practice. They're practicing. It's the best hypothesis. Let's throw it on the wall, see if it sticks. If it sticks and you get better, great. If it doesn't, come back and see us. And we have to also recognize complementary practitioners.
And it's that treat the smoke instead of the fire thing. They could have investigated and dug deeper, literally, right? And you are the extreme of gut health in your story. So like your overcoming is quite remarkable, I'm sure, which is why you are at that level of, you know, nervous system regulation and love that you are because of it. But you were at gut health like morbidity, right? You weren't just at like gut health being off and hormone imbalance and, you know, all of that. Like you were at gut health morbidity to a state that most people would never understand.
Yeah, and in that process, in that 8 years, I also had 2 other children.
Wow.
So I think it was the year that Levi went to Bali, was I went to a lady named Rochelle, and she's got like 30 different modalities that she works on. And one of them was body coding. And on this laptop was, she asked if my body could talk to her, right? You know, through quantum. And it was really neat because here's the laptop, and she's like left or right, and it's like, okay, she's telling it. Or my body's telling it. Okay, your body has an emotion trapped in it. Okay, we'll figure it out. 17 generations ago on your maternal side, frustration got put in your DNA.
Yeah.
Okay, can we just remove it? Yeah, absolutely, because if I ask to give it back to the person, that's a no-no. Because then, like, that's thousands of people that it's impacting. This way, as we heal our own cellular being, I believe that we are healing those who come before us and those who come after us. So as I heal my cellular being, I'm then assisting my mom and all those, and my children and all those. That's my belief.
And epigenetics is catching up to that and has substantiated evidence towards like DNA activation.
But it's fascinating because really, 10 years ago, I was in this trauma conference and the instructors, you know, the class, because it was Lauren Aldred who kind of brought the person together, and a few other kind of local trauma experts were taking this class on EMDR and addictions. And we brought up epigenetics. And the instructors from the States kind of didn't know what we were talking about. This was like 12 years ago. And it's just like, holy crap, like we live in the north. We've had to kind of come to terms with this because we understand it at a local level. We've seen it with Indigenous peoples. And it's just more obvious, Indigenous population. And then as a settler, I can now go back and kind of trace my roots, right? Because of my story.
And we have to honor the ancestral knowledge and wisdom that's already known these things that often neuroscience or Western medicine has to catch up to.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
and
they have to prove it.
Ancestral knowledge has always been there, and returning to that, right?
Put it in a test tube and make sure that it gets the same results.
I know, over and over. I don't think we need more research. I think we know. We already have enough research. We know what people need.
Yeah.
You just have to apply it, and it takes at least 10 years to embed research to the ground level, or to even have it known in textbooks.
And it's the siloing. It's the siloing as far as, oh, okay, well, you've got this degree, you've got this education, you are this expert in this area, as opposed to one of the goals of Auroara and I is to bring experts together in experience, in story, and through the collective, kind of be able to weave together this collective understanding. So that it's not, oh, hey, because you went to university and got this degree, or you went here and studied under this shaman, or whatever it is.
The way I've seen it is it opens doors. So, yeah, okay, I've got letters beside my name. So it opens doors where then I can bridge that information in a way that's then received. So different people have different gateways of like, yes, I'll allow this in, or I know I won't, right? And so it just opens up possibilities so that we can have shared collective understanding no matter who we are, right? But we don't need those letters. Don't need them at all.
Yeah.
The wisdom is there.
So back to your 17 generational frustration stuck in your genes.
In our DNA.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, you have another emotion. It's shock. Oh, well, let's see in the family where it is. Oh, it's in your, like, you lived this. And she counted it, and it came down to like 20 whatever years. So I counted it back, 1989. I'm like, oh, well, that's when I got E. coli. Oh, I had shock put into my system, and I was handed it, she said I handed it down to 2 of my descendants. Well, I'd already had Levi.
Oh.
So I handed shock in with my cellular data to my 2 younger children. Totally made sense on their behavior, right? They mirrored me.
Yep, absolutely.
And Levi didn't have the shock DNA. So it made difference, right?
Yep.
So I'm very proud of the fact that I have, I think he'll be 37.
We have to go back to the year that they're born and like count with our fingers.
Yeah, 32.
Well, he's 88,
34.
isn't he? 1988?
Yeah.
Yeah, 36.
So 1988 I had Levi. August of 89 I got E. coli. Travis was born June of 91, and Garrett was born September 1st of 93, and it took until February of 97 for them to open me up.
Right. And so what you're representing is muscle testing, and I think for the audience to know what you mean when you do this is that through many modalities that work with the mind and body, or somatic practices or regenerative practices that are alternative, we know that a strong...
Or complementary. They're not alternative.
I see alternative as a positive.
Okay, I from my perspective, it's a bad word, but go ahead.
Right.
Right? Alternative is like woo-woo.
Right.
It is woo-woo.
Within that generational mindset, I'm a different generation. And so the muscle testing is, if there's a strong response, it's a yes, like that's accurate. So if I said, my name's Auroara, it's gonna be strong. If I say my name's Bob, look at how easy, I couldn't hold it strong. And so when someone's going and body scanning and they're looking for the space of emotional discordance or blockages, like they can muscle check to see and ask questions. And so it's really fascinating when you dive into the actual biomechanics of it. But I just wanted to give that brief explanation.
Yeah, and I think too that helps me remember that after I had my surgery in '97, I then went to a naturopath in a hotel room, right? Meet there, and here's your pills and your vitamins.
Hey man,
and
I've got the stuff.
Right? but he did a thing called show tie testing and iridology. So he's looking in my eyes and he's like, oh, your bowels, okay. How long? Like they're clearly blocked. And then he taps and it's like 70, 71, 72. Your bowels are blocked by 73%. Here all this time I think that I'm a whack job because I'm fat. Because, right?
Uncontrollably fat.
And uncontrollably.
And the negative
sleeping.
cognition
From the
that
doctors.
gets tied to that is you're lazy and you're fat and you're unmotivated. Like, get your shit together, lady.
Yeah, so not enough oxygen in my system then caused me to lose logical and rational thinking.
Yeah.
I was all emotion and I was all lies because I didn't remember what happened yesterday. I didn't have enough concept to be able to, oh yeah.
You were septic.
Absolutely septic.
Yeah.
And yet, if this was a cardiac condition, we'd measure it. Like, that's very simple. It's like the symptoms of a cardiac condition, because I used to work at the hospital, right? And it's just like, okay, we'll send you down to St. Paul's. You'll get the little catheterization. We know exactly what you are percentage-wise. We'll put in a stent. Bob's your uncle. Fixed. Right?
Yeah, like I had no lap.
The gut piece is something that we're inadequately kind of trained in and to measure unless we go to complementary medicines in kind of understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to point that out of complementary being the one to actually assess it before Western medicine did. Then it like substantiated it before Western medicine did. Then you went to investigate.
Yeah.
Did you choose to investigate
was
after that?
after.
Oh yeah, okay.
That was after, because what happens when your bowels get so blocked and the toxicity's happening, then you've got toxic blood. So when I had my surgery in February of '97, I was allergic to morphine. And I'd wake up and I'd be in pain, so I'd shoot myself up with morphine and I'd go fall asleep and I'd wake up and I'd puke because I'm allergic to morphine. But I'm in pain. Not realizing that it's now ripping everything apart that was happening on the inside.
Oh wow.
With the vomiting, like the physical reaction of vomiting was ripping at the staples.
Yeah. So I woke up in the middle of the night. Keep in mind, I've now a 65-inch belly, and I could feel something running down my stomach. So I lifted up the sheet, and the sheet was red everywhere where it touched my belly. So I rang the nurse, like, there's blood running down. Oh, that's normal, it's that little bladder thing, right? Because sometimes the blood runs into that little bladder and then they empty it. And well, she came in and she's like, beep, 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 code blue, whatever. Right?
You get the full meal deal. You get the whole team.
Yeah.
20 people in your...
2 in the morning, right? Yeah, down to surgery, and I wake up and I've got red shit coming into my arm and clear stuff, and I look down and there's a nurse down at the end, and I'm like, hey, is this A negative blood? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'll see y'all later. They gave me like 5 pints of red stuff and I don't know how many pints of clear stuff. Our body holds, what, 9 pints? So it was a blessing, because now I have all new blood.
Oh yeah.
I've got all new
Fleshed you
oxygen.
out.
I've got all new stuff.
Yeah.
So when I went in to get my stitches out, the doctor, and meanwhile I'm hanging out with Garrett, who's 3.5.
Yeah, speaking of
who
shock.
I've never really spent time with. I've been sleeping. And he said, you shouldn't be here. I'm like, you got stitches to take out. And he's like, literally, there wasn't enough oxygen in your blood system for a human to sustain a human life. Like, you really shouldn't be here.
Alive.
Yeah.
In the world, yeah.
Because my blood was so toxic. I should have been dead.
So bringing it back to the 3-year-old witnessing this and the cycles of shock that have passed through, because you had shock for your system, literal shock, but they passed down to your children because seeing you like that in multiple times probably was shocking and kept that shock for them. So that's an example of how the cycles actually manifest.
Huge. Yeah.
And then we've got this attachment piece, right? Not out of choice of your own, but kind of that severing. Because here this person who I'm dependent on for my life is so sick. And kids, a 3-year-old picks up on that. It's like, this person, if they bite the bullet, I'm not going to have anyone to feed me or put a roof
Primal
over my
fear.
head. Like, just that real primal experience. Like, talk about terrifying.
Yeah, and I think too in that time, like, we lived in a 12 by 60 trailer in a trailer park. My husband at the time, he worked in camp, 2 weeks gone, 2 weeks home. That meant I was home for 2 weeks with those kids. So they had to fend for themselves. If I didn't make it to town, they were eating those shitty noodles, right? Or make sure they had mushroom soup for
Free
12
range.
days because
Yeah.
I bought 12 a flat of mushroom soup. So, like Levi being the oldest, he required to feed his younger brothers. Like, I slept a lot. And I remember Garrett, I'd get the other two school or wherever, and Garrett, I would lay down on the couch and I'd put him behind me, and he's like from the little blue bassinet thing, and we would watch Franklin, the Magic School Bus. And I remember it to being the point where I would have a pillow between my legs so that he was sitting behind me with his legs behind me, so that when he would need to go and do something, I would wake up.
Wow.
Meanwhile, being in a Great Depression, thinking that I was fat and lazy, and this was...
the schema of yourself.
Yeah, you've internalized that negative.
And speaking of nutritional deficiency and cycles, right, and gut health, if you were pregnant during the time, the absorption of nutrition for the child through the placenta wouldn't have been there, which would set off their own cycle of gut health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that happened in '89. I had Travis at 91. So I was about 2 years into it. And Garrett 93, so almost 4 years of this not working.
So let's start to do the arc of, like, where, you know, how did your life events kind of happen after, and you're kind of coming back to yourself, and also some other stories of, like, raising your kids and how that showed up, because how did it show up for them generationally, like, you know, at different points and milestones of their life, and how is it showing up now?
Yeah, I think now it's interesting because I'm very proud of my kids. Like, really proud of my kids. I know their childhood.
Intimately.
Right? Like, being part of where their trauma came in. So being able to be a part of where their love comes in, that's important for me to give them the different balances.
And here's the interesting piece, is even though you were part of their trauma story, you had developed the self-awareness.
Yes.
And to kind of recognize, it's not me. It was what happened to me, what I experienced. And so you could take full responsibility to kind of understand their journey. Whereas so many folks, when they're trying to break those intergenerational wounds, it's hard for them to take personal responsibility for their piece. Not recognizing, well, it was actually your parents and grandparents and great-great-grandparents, and it's just that trauma. And it's not until you kind of say, stop. It stops with me. And so you had the opportunity, because it was external to your choices of the trauma that happened to you with your guts just being totally shut down by something external, like by
out of your control,
the disease.
Yeah, I fell off a tractor tube and had to swim in, and I ingested a bunch of water. Went to a country music festival, ate
totally benign,
right?
And have you forgiven yourself, like knowing that it was out of your control? It wasn't.
Oh, absolutely. It's created this part of me. Right? All of my stuff, if I hadn't have done any of it, I wouldn't be this version of me. Right? I believe that I've broken a lot of cycles in my family. Like my great-grandfather, he hurt a lot of people in his, oh, well, everybody needs to know their sexual side. doesn't matter who you are, right? So that part, like breaking those cycles, being able to, okay, well this came in my DNA, and I'm breaking that cycle. That's not being handed down.
Yeah.
Which then in turn allows me to be more open when people are sharing their story.
Right, because when you experience crisis, you're taken right down to the foundation, right down to the dirt. And so now it's like, how am I going to rebuild this? And so you had that opportunity. And a lot of times people rebel against, why is this happening to me? Like, I don't want to experience this garbage in my life. and right?
I've been there though, victim. Absolutely.
Well, no, but you have to be in that state. You know, like my tattoo, the crisis tattoo is, you know, the translation for Prince George is shit happens, now what? So you need to be in the pile of shit. You need to kind of find yourself kind of sifting through it until you kind of go, okay, now what? Like, I'm done with it. I'm done smelling it. I'm done being in it. And that's kind of the piece where we're kind of evolving with regards to you moving past it and kind of saying, okay, I want to make something.
And it comes back to your acknowledgement piece and responsibility, because you can't say, so now what? You can't until you acknowledge, and you can't heal until you say, you know, okay, I accept that this is what this is, now I can heal it. And then you can transform it, right? Like those stages of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think you have a really good shoot water kind of example of that, right? Like of what comes through that you were bringing on today.
All right, I will do that now. Then it's over.
Well, your story's so incredible that we, like...
Well, I think, too, like, we have to choose at a certain point who is going to blow on our pilot light of love. We all get a pilot light. If we don't know how to create that love within ourselves that flows out and we give from our saucer, then we're giving from an empty vessel that we don't even know how to ask for.
I like that piece, and the metaphor that I sometimes use with my guys is the tidy tank. The tidy tank that we kind of keep on the back of our pickup trucks. And too often, the helpers will siphon out of our own gas tank to help others.
Yeah.
As opposed to, no, let's go into this, fill our 200-gallon tidy tank in the back of our truck and pump out of there. And that's what we should be focusing on to give to others. Because if you siphon out of your own tank, all you're going to do is going to get a mouthful of gas and get sick. And eventually, you're not going to have the wherewithal to see where your level is, and you're literally going to be on empty.
Big part of healing is that knowing where you went in another place, like you talked about before with holding space, right? And I think that a lot of people who had trauma, those lines start to they are blurred, and the healing process is becoming familiar with self and with the other and with love and with boundaries and what that means, with what it means to give and where that comes from. And
so tell us about this.
I saw this. See, I'm a continual learner. So I go to workshops and different events, and so I may have learned it from, I went to a healing grief workshop with Richard and Janine Sampson, phenomenal, and their Indigenous trauma-informed care workshop, absolutely. So what I brought was a cup, an empty cup, right? Yeah. And what happens is we come with an empty vessel, right? I believe that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, not human beings having a spiritual experience, right? We each come as a spirit and we get a human vessel as we have this journey. So we come with clearness, okay? Then along the way, I was going to have dirt, because it really shows, you know, shit.
We're in February, though. It's really hard to find dirt in the middle of February in Prince George.
So as we go along, here, hold it with the other hand. As we go along in life, we get stuff given to us, right?
Yeah.
It's not ours. It's our parents, it's our friends, it's our grandparents, it's school, it's whatever. So it kind of taints us. You know, okay. So now we're hanging on to other people's stuff. Okay, well, what can we do? Okay, well, we'll go with the flow, right? Well, then it doesn't feel good. But we've done it for so long, so we might as well take on someone else's shit, you know? They like broccoli and I don't like broccoli, but, you know, I better eat it because, you know, they are going to get mad if I don't. However that looks to be, right? So as we go along in our healing journey, oh, I think I'm going to pick up a book. Oh, I'm going to start my healing journey. Okay. Okay, well, now I've just kind of filled it to what other people are.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's do some more workshops and let's go along and, oh, well, it's kind of clearing it up, you know? Kinda. But as it goes along, then it starts to float at the top, and yeah, we've done the healing at the bottom, but all these new things are coming up.
Right.
And this trauma's coming up, and no, I don't want to do that. So then you go back into this clear stuff, and you're like, oh, oblivious to that other trauma.
Yeah.
Right? So, but someone gives you another book, and, you know, maybe it's the 5 Love Languages, or the 4 Agreements, or Let 'Em by Mel Brooks, or whatever happens, or the Celestine Prophecies, or, you know, you keep going. And you get to this point, and you're like, oh, I've been just pouring so much love into myself, and but there's still all this shit coming up.
You go to healers.
You go to healers, you go to Reiki sessions, you go to crystal bowl healings, you go to your you know, you go to therapist, you go to drumming, you go and do these things, and then you think, oh, okay, I can do this. But you're still tainted. There's still that fog of all the other people that have put their shit into yours that, you know what, that was their truth. But again, you go to something else, you meet with someone, you hug someone, they say, oh, Penelope, when you told me that everyone else's opinion of me was none of your business, I was so pissed off at you for like 6 months. I'm like, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I trigger people all the time from my love.
Which pours
and
into
sharing.
me, and pours into 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 me, and guess what? The more love I pour into myself, the less shit I hold on from other people. And then we become clear. It's huge.
And I feel that with you, like walking in here today and hugging you, and I feel that from you, that you've done your work. And
Yeah.
do you want to share a bit about how you did your work to get to that point?
Oh. I would say it probably started in 1992.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, actually probably 1991, my mom introduced me to multi-level marketing. The company back then was called New Skin. And it was really neat because they had a monthly subscription and they would send you CDs or books, and I learned about the Robert Kiyosaki's, who talks about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I learned about entrepreneurship and investments, and it's like, okay, well, I can learn this because I can read a book while I'm got a kid or sleeping or laying on the couch, or
So
like as I got sicker, right?
What part of that did that empower you?
I realized I was not fit to be an employee. The
Not
autonomy,
working for other people.
So the tenacity, like did it grow
yeah.
tenacity in you?
autonomy,
Yeah.
the
Entrepreneurial.
ahas, because, oh, well, I think like this, but my whole school system, I've been told I was stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know how to test? Oh, well, then clearly you're not very smart.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I have all these other talents.
And that negative schema you had on yourself before about lazy, fat, and you said just now stupid, you were
Yeah.
able to flip that schema through empowering with a new narrative of what you could accomplish and do.
Yeah, because there are no wrongs, there are no mistakes. Everything is a learning
yes.
opportunity. And that's what I learned through that, was it's okay to think outside the box. There is no box.
So let's say that again for our viewers. There's no such thing as mistakes. Like,
None.
our society is built on mistakes. Let's get the red pen out. Let's mark it. This is what you rate out of 100.
Yeah.
The entire system is based on a falsehood. Whereas if we go to the 4 agreements and recognize the 4th agreement is always do your best, recognizing there's no such thing as a mistake. It's a learning opportunity. And if we turn that experience on its head, we recognize, right?
Yeah.
We get out of that deficit mindset, that negative cognitive mindset of you're a piece of shit, you are stupid, you did this wrong, as opposed to how do you change and continue to do your best if you don't recognize, oh, you just fell short.
Yeah.
You need to kind of understand feedback, which is what the wrongness is, to kind of change it and move forward. It's always about moving forward, right? Like you said, your journey's never been done. You're a constant kind of learning,
Yeah.
a constant student to life.
What can I learn from this?
Yeah.
And I find it interesting that when people say they share their story,
Yeah.
because being empathic, they feel safe.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of things that they're like, I've never told anyone that. And I'm like, you're welcome. Because you needed to hear it out loud. It wasn't about telling me.
Yeah.
And being able, right? Because it's not my story.
When you're a healer, you hear that over and over again, right? It's like, I've never told anyone that story. And it's
Yeah.
just like, well, no, you held space. You
Yeah.
created the openness for people to vocalize where they were at in their journey. And it's this gift. And when you experience it, it's this aha moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I have 3 very gifted sons. They chose me as their vessel to get here as their human experience. So they also, like, as I came back to 1992, I was convinced by my mom to take a weekend workshop called The Pursuit of Excellence. In that, we learned different modules of full ownership, 100% accountability, right? There can be a win-win situation. It's not always a win-lose. Like different fundamental things to learn. And I was strict because she said, you can go, and if you learn nothing from it, you can get the refund. That was $800. I'm coming to Prince George from Fort St. John. Absolutely. So that's like June of 1992. Being able to, then I went on and had Garrett afterwards,
Yeah.
and I got married in September of 92, was married for 16 years. And it was interesting when I was released from that marriage, I was going through a Eckhart Tolle and Oprah Winfrey thing called A New Earth. It is what it is. Send them out blessings. Send them out what you want. Don't send out I'm always so broke, because you're going to get that back 10 times fold. Say I'm welcoming the wealth.
Yeah.
You know, the rivers of financial abundance flow into my bank account, instead of I wish I wasn't so broke. So I believe I don't know who said it, but it was, we're given 86,400 seconds in a day. That's the end. That's the end part. Okay. If you were given $86,400 and someone took $10 of yours, are you going to throw away the $86,390? Or take that $10 and say, oh well, and carry on?
Stuff happens.
But yet we're given 86,400 seconds in a day. And some people hold on to that 10 seconds that someone had a shitty moment in their presence to wreck the 86,390 seconds in that day, and maybe 3 or 4 days after that.
So don't carry their stuff, like in your analogy. Don't carry that stuff.
It's not my stuff.
This is exciting, and I'm kind of aware. I actually have no idea what time it is, but I'm thinking this is going to be like a part 2 piece, and I don't know if this is the time to share. But one of the things I was thinking about this morning in preparation to coming and having a conversation with you today, and this is the Facebook piece, is what happened on Haida Gwaii?
Oh.
What happened on Haida Gwaii?
Like something, and the only reason I say this is anyone who hasn't been to Haida Gwaii needs to kind of go there, because in beautiful BC, but this is beyond. This is spiritual, connected BC. When you step off of that ferry,
Yeah.
you are in for a mystical journey. And I've only been there 3 times, and most recently a year and a half ago
Oh.
with my son.
Yeah.
And I went, wow, I need to bring my
Yeah.
my wife, like we need to come, because I know people vacation in the North Island there all the time, like just a yearly thing where they
Yeah.
kind of come and they connect, and they still do like redneck things like drive on the sand dunes, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that, but
Yeah.
but it's just like once you're in that space, once you're among the people, the first peoples.
Yeah.
And going there with respect, dignity, honor, and gratitude for the people.
You may not, but you actually, you get slammed in the face with it, or maybe inundated with that energy, because you get off the ferry, and all of a sudden you see the Heritage Museum, the whatever.
Yeah.
And the first time, like literally coming off the ferry and seeing 12 people working on a totem pole under a lean-to, and you're going, I mean, I'm a wood butcher, and so that to me kind of just, we got to stop, even if it's kind of and just watch from the road.
Yeah.
So what happened in Haida Gwaii, Penelope?
How long were you there?
4 months.
Yeah.
4 months. I was supposed to be there for 8 weeks. Yeah. Very interesting story.
What year?
2020.
Okay, that makes sense.
2020.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really interesting because I had heard about Haida Gwaii, and then other people went and they're like, there's Agate Beach. I'm like, there's Agate Beach? I'm an agate freak, so I had to go. I had a broken down car, and so I just put out the intention. I went to a weekend with Katie Suick in August of '89, and my intention was to go to Haida Gwaii in the summer of 2020.
Wow.
And then I'm like, no, I'm gonna change that. I'm going there and I'm getting paid to go there in the summer of 2020. Put it out there. I then went to a quantum healing in September of 2019, bought a new car. Like, this is not even in thinking about it. It's like, okay, so I'm prepping to have a vehicle to be able to go. First time I'd had a loan since I was divorced 7 or 8 years prior.
Yeah.
Like, really neat stuff. I'm at the place where I do the bookkeeping. I had taught there, but had not been teaching. Hey, do you want to teach? And I'm like, where? Because I didn't want to teach in Prince George.
No.
Well, Masset and Kitlex.
Or
It's on Dolphin Island.
okay.
So, and I'm like, oh, well, where's that? Well, one's on Dolphin Island and one's on Haida Gwaii. And I'm like, okay, this is the opportunity.
And Masset, the next step, when you look, if you could look across the ocean, is Japan.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking end of the world.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to have to talk to the accounting office to get time off, right? So as it turned out, then the world shut down. And I'm like, no, I'm going to Masset.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to Masset. I am going to Masset. Like, it's just going to happen. And then they opened up the island in June for essential workers only. I became an essential worker.
I knew you were going to say that. And what kind of essential worker?
I was teaching Sage accounting
Yeah.
and basic bookkeeping. And then I went on to do other Microsoft ones, but now it's on Zoom. I don't even know how to get on Zoom. So we have a week of class, and I've got students. We have to be 6 feet apart and all this stuff, but I have students. COVID hits the island. Shuts it down. In the meantime, because I'm an outsider, I am not allowed to go into the grocery store for 2 weeks from the time that I hit the island.
Right.
Quarantine.
Right? Well, that's cool. Except I brought rice and butter.
Didn't know.
You're laughing.
You have to be on your own.
But the place that I found was an Airbnb.
Yeah.
And it was in Port Clements, which is about 45 minutes out of Masset.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to drive back and forth like through like this ancient forest kind of land. The deer are like this big.
Yeah. Island deer.
Crazy. So after I'm told that now it happened because in the longhouse that we were teaching it all week, they had had a party on the Saturday before.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, we're in that place all week. And now they have COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, did I clean the space enough? Did I make sure that any of my people get COVID? Well, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a very scary time.
Oh, the mass media was unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. And I mean, I got sucked in for a moment.
More
a
than a moment.
So did you have transformational moments in the spiritualness of Haida Gwaii? Is that
I
where
took
we're
my
going?
I took my shoes off and I went and did the whole pono in the water,
Yeah.
right?
So Ho'oponopono is
Is a Hawaiian healing chant where by giving love to others, it can then heal on a community space. And it's water medicine.
Yes.
it also mirrors accountability for self in a situation
Hugely.
you think only the other is at fault.
And when
Yeah.
you're on a small island, you're surrounded by water.
And I'm land empathic. So they're in fear, like scarlet fever fear.
Yeah.
It's emitting into the ground. I am like in panic mode
Yeah.
because it's not just mine.
That's right. Yeah.
So I got to go and stand in the water and do the Ho'opono
Yeah.
and just push love out all around the island so that they could calm their roll.
Yeah. Well, because I'm seeing little blips, little pictures,
Yeah.
little, and it was actually these water experiences. It's like, holy crap! Like, how is she vacationing this long during COVID? Like,
Because I'm shut down, not allowed to leave
and
my place.
I didn't realize that you were kind of making money while doing it.
Yeah.
Which is talk about 11 years previously sending out that energy, knowing that that was the location, and then having it all come full circle to go, ta-da, here I am. And having the bejeebies scared out of you because of this unknown virus, and then still continuing to apply your tools of connection and spirituality and practice.
And knowing that Gagid is there, the Bigfoot, that's also a fanatic thing for me. I've been to Harrison Lake, I've been to, yeah, and at the end of Masset, right up by Sarah's Longhouse,
Yeah.
is a metal Bigfoot, Gagid, Sasquatch, whatever.
I missed that.
Yeah.
And I was going to wear my Sasquatch sweater today, and I wish I did because I'm cold. But I thought, oh no, I can't wear a zip-up hoodie because, you know, I should
Oh,
be
I saw
more
my Sasquatch
professional.
one, yeah.
And I should have listened to my intuition.
So I had a reading done. So I'm all over. Like I've done drumming and I've done singing and I've done water medicine and stood in a medicine wheel to do land healing, and I've done like different workshops and but not only went to the workshop, but I walked the walk,
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. You integrate it.
learning that there's
Got it.
43 different types of grief. Not just mine. You know, learning that I grieved because I'm now, maybe one is my house burnt down when I was 6, or my house burnt in 2009, or like different things, grieving my grandma's recipe.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
but walk into the healing space. Because I believe we're kind of all like Pigpen on Charlie Brown, right? We all have this
We moved.
aura. We'll call it an aura, you know. And my aura, if it's calmness and love and peace and planting seeds for other people to learn how to love themselves, I win. Whether I meet them ever again.
So what was the turning point between hate and love, or what would you call the opposite of where you were at prior to that full embodiment of love?
Love disconnection, maybe.
Where we're like, because I heard you say hate earlier
Yeah.
before we started, that's why I said that. But how would you frame it? Like, where was the chasm? Was there a pivotal turning point where you went, oh, it is all about love?
I think the kids and we were homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
And we watched a movie called Paying It Forward.
Mm.
So all of us decided that that's what we were going to do.
Mm.
Is when we gave out, we didn't expect things in return. We gave out because those people were going to pay it forward to someone else.
You all watched it together?
We did.
Talk about intergenerational.
It was
Powerful, powerful.
It was part of our
collective choice.
Our homeschooling program, yeah. And then we each did a questionnaire on what's our love language, so we learned what each other's love language was.
Collective choice in the family unit.
Yeah.
So you're a powerhouse family unit then.
Yeah, all three of my boys have taken the pursuit of excellence, like they've learned 100% ownership, and I'm not responsible for your emotions, you're responsible for your emotions. I'm responsible for the triggering I have.
Yeah, and Levi totally walks that in every moment he has and every interaction he has, and you can really see that, and you can see how,
yeah,
you know, that intergenerational cycle like shows up in the ones after us too, right?
Yes.
Even more so than ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now Travis has taken it. Garrett took it when he was like 16 or 17.
Mm-hmm.
And when Garrett was like 15, he stepped up and became a stepdad to one of his friends, right? So now we have AJ, who's going to be 16, who's now taken the pursuit of excellence, and her younger sibling, who's going to be 13. So like we walk the excellence seminars
the way of
and
being.
And the healing part. We're all 100% accountable for what we give out.
Yeah.
So from that,
Yeah, I think, I think it's really important to recognize what month we're in.
Yeah.
And our little
Yeah.
pillow there.
Our love month.
We are in kind of the agape kind of concept of love. And love is very distorted. And it's been kind of wrecked by Hallmark and romanticism and everything else. And so when you came here today, you were very clear with regards to the gifts that you provided us. Like, tell us about kind of that just embodying love.
Right. Yeah, like I've been through anger management courses and I've been to different, to work on me.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm going to end up at the end of a stairwell because I'm fighting with someone, clearly I have anger issues.
Right.
Clearly.
so that's happened.
That has happened.
Yeah.
I was, 2010, I started going to anger management at Northern John Howard Society.
Yes.
So being able to learn that I'm 100% accountable,
Yes.
right? We were doing some sort of workshop and it's like, they were going around the table and it's like, well, I am caring and I am courageous and I am brave and I have strength and I am this, and I decided that I am love. So then I required to feed the love into me, so then that in turn was able to share it with other people. Because if I can share that seed of love with other people, they can then learn how to love themselves, and it goes on like a ripple in the lake.
Yeah.
They can love, and then that person, and they're like, oh, and then their kids can feel loved, and the generational love can go on.
Yeah.
The cycles can be broken.
So let's model in that regard Ho'oponopono as an example, and we could do it together to close out the episode, because as we model that, we could put out love to Prince Georgian area and beyond, and even beyond the borders of love. So we could do that right now as kind of a way out in that.
Cool, we
Do
even
you
have
want to
water.
start? Yeah.
Well, the Ho'oponopono has 4 sections of it, and it's I love you, I am sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And when you're in the water, you can pick it up and hold it. Say you're at the kitchen sink and do the Ho'oponopono. So it's I love you, and as the water goes through, just absorb that piece. And it's giving it back to yourself too.
Can we do it with the intention of that love going to any pain and suffering
Absolutely.
in the area and then beyond where it goes?
Yeah,
'Kay.
wherever it needs to be.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right.
You lead and we'll model with you.
I love you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I understand it's water medicine, but in the context of where we were just there, it was kind of the breath.
Yeah.
And so obviously it can be adapted, kind of when we're not able to kind of chunk through or chainsaw into the lake and go sit in the water. Or like
Yeah.
you said, at the kitchen sink, like you can adapt it in different situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's neat. Like just lots of different modalities, right? Like I've been continual, okay, well, now I'm going to go to this, and I did Reiki 1, and go do some quantum healing, and right? Like it's just really neat. It's really neat to grow.
Yeah. And I think you can repeat that mantra as long as it takes until you feel it's done, right?
Right.
You did the 4 times, but you can repeat it.
And you were talking about kind of focusing inward and kind of being aware of the blockages, the energy, the sometimes kind of discomfort internally, and then projecting it outwards as well, right? And it sounds like you can kind of do both of those kind of in together.
Absolutely.
Well, and and it really lands with where the current times are, where, our professionals that want to, and community members that want to really target and bring the statistics down that we're seeing. We know, and it's come to be, that love and connection is the underbelly to treat the fire, right? To treat the issues. And so what does that look like? And you're modeling that. And so thank you for coming on today. I'm so grateful for you, your story, your being, and the cycles that you have broken and continue to break, and that the walking examples of those in your family that are also doing that. And
Yeah.
thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So thanks for tuning in to another episode of Simply Thriving in the North. And if you want to get on YouTube and you're seeing this on community television, just look up Simply Thriving in the North, and you'll also find many other episodes. So be sure to tune in, because this was the first of about 12 episodes on intergenerational trauma healing. And I just want to really root and ground that we honor the ancestral and stolen lands of the Leigh.